Hey, Rich, buddy, how you doing? Is Can you hear me okay? You sound all right. Ah, good, great. Hi, Robert. Hi, N something. NS something. Good. I had last time I had my microphone all set up except for one thing. It wasn't plugged in. So I this time I wanted to be sure it was working okay. Um, anyway, oh, good. Oh, that's great. It should sound better than it did last week. Oh, that's great. Well, hi Javier, how you doing? Um, let me. What I wanted to talk about today was a type of. Oh yeah, my red band. Hey Tennessee Mike. Um, the Hey Rohit, how you doing? What kind of collectors are there us to choose from? Okay, hey Jacob T. I I wanted to talk about. I was thinking about. It. I said, well, how did I get started on sort of the path I took? And what I did was, I had to sort of rewound it in my head and took a look at the sequence in which I bought watches and high time. Um, and here's what happened. I wanted to find good mechanical craftsmanship. That's what I was looking for. In other words, the really good quality in the watches that I got. And I'm not knowing anything, like all of us are, I guess, to some extent when we first start off. I went out and I got a Patek Philippe, and I heard about the Holy Trinity, so I wanted to get a Patek Philippe, a Vacheron Constantin, and a Audemars Piguet. And so that's what I did, thinking about the whole issue of quality. The Patek Philippe I got fabulous quality, but I learned a lot about things that I had to do. I had to get a new band for it. I had to get a new buckle for it, and I even went so far as to get the gold spring bars that you need for gold watch. So that's part of the learning process. I think we all go through. Um, yeah, I'm going to be channeling Hemingway, right? I could, if I could write as succinctly as Hemingway. Okay, so that was the idea, and the more I learned about high horology, and a lot of it that I started off really was about Vacheron Constantin. There was a really neat group called the Hour Lounge. Now the Hour Lounge is still around, but the people who were sort of in it early on, they seem to have gone. It was sort of like a really good time, and so I sort of learned actually about certain aspects of quality, and the aspect of quality was in the finishing and the beveling and the perlage and all of those other kinds of things that was sort of going down the path of high horology, and I thought really great craftsmanship. But the hey Jure, hi Christos, hi Tenzil, hi Forbin. the in going down that path, it was the watches I got. One of the things I learned that my Vacheron Constantin had a Girard Perregaux movement. This was the original overseas had that in it, and Vacheron Constantin had fixed it up. Okay, so I had a fixed up um, Girard Perregaux. Okay, so this was in terms of the kind of collector I was. I wanted to really collect good craftsmanship within the watch, and starting off, like I said, with the Holy Trinity, I thought, well, this is a good path. Well, th- there's the more I learned about it was that I said, well, who made this watch? I had no idea who the craftsman behind it was. And the more and more that I was looking at it, started looking at the Grand Prix d'Horloge DJ Genève and figured, okay, here's a good place to learn about really good watches because the people who are judging them are, some of the best watchmakers and some of the best of everything in the whole world. And so I thought, okay, these are guys that really know something. And that was really where I discovered F.P. Journe because this guy had, looking at what he had done, I thought, wow, this is not only do you have this, what it amounted to is, pretty much a handmade watch, but some super high quality. And then the first one I got was the Chronomet Souverain. The thing about the Chronomet Souverain that's to me is the most interesting is how F.P. Journe used these two barrels not for extending the charge, so to speak, but rather to so that they could just use the middle 60% of the wind, the starting with 80% and then going down to 20%. And the idea behind it would be a constant charge because you wouldn't have the higher power at the beginning and then the lower power at the end. So, and then I saw this thing on resonance, and resonance. I just thought, wow, this is the greatest thing in the world. So I got the watch on one of the early resonance he made. So this is sort of like the path I was going. Is always looking for this kind of craftsmanship. Now, at the same time that that I found F.P. Journe, I also found Richard Harbring and Harbring 2. And, was looking at his stuff, and for a great price, I could get this, like a handcrafted watch. And I took a look at the Grand Prix, and here was this guy, it was Richard Harbring, his wife Marie, I think, and they have a a dog or a cat, and that was the whole operation. It wasn't in Switzerland, it wasn't in Germany, it was in Austria. Okay, so this is sort of the path that I took as a collector because I was wondering. I was going to ask you guys this. So what happened? Okay, so the going going along that route, I realized is that what was it that these guys had in common? What was it that the really good watchmakers had in common? Well, I had seen early on that F.P. Journe had worked for his uncle for a number of years before he went out on his own. And what his uncle had a place, and they did restoration of clocks, mainly of clocks, but also of watches. And most of the watches were like pocket watches. So I started looking at some other ones who did it, and especially because stuff was getting expensive. The Well, what was affordable? Well, that was how I found Parmigiani. First of all, it was recommended by Kari Voutilainen, and so I thought, well, I'll take a look at him. Well, his background, he was working for the Sandoz family and doing restoration, and they really liked the work that he was doing. So they said, "Hey, how would you like to have your own watch company?" And so he said, "Sure." And so he's been the key designer for the Parmigiani. A couple years ago, he won two Grand Prix right at the same time. So it was really, I thought, wow, okay, so this is really great. Plus the fact that most collectors weren't interested in the Parmigiani except certain ones. I found that the people who were Parmigiani collectors were really very, very sharp people. That was what I found out. So anyway, so that was how I got into that. And so again, this is just sort of going along, and and with the focus on craftsmanship. So this is pretty much my style. Now, um, let me say this is not everybody's. Let me say hi to some people that came in. Charlie Alley. Let's see, who haven't I said hello to? Bruce, how you doing, man? Crappy, good to see you. And let's see. Okay. I think I'm all caught up. Stephen, you're up at the top, so maybe I didn't get to you either, but so hello. The so what what is it? I mean, like there are different kinds of collectors. I guess another type of collector is um you have a brand. I think I mentioned it in yesterday's video. Some guy, he loved those Omegas. And I could listen to this guy for hours go on about Amigas. And one of the reasons I could, he doesn't say anybody else should get one. He says, Amigas, I just love them. He didn't say they're the best. He didn't say, he said there's something about them that he is hooked on. So he was sort of into it as a brand, but there was never a sense, especially some of the ones he bought, he wasn't like, oh, I got to get a Man on the Moon, or I have to get this or that. But just, and boy, did he know the history of those things. Just amazing guy. Uh, and it and the same thing with this other, the guy who was collecting those Tag Heuer Formula Ones. They were not exactly high horology. they were they were fun watches though, and this is what the guy liked. So okay, so let's see what you guys have. What kind of collector? What do you say? Okay, this is the kind of thing that sort of guides me. All right, let's see. NS something. F finish is great, but you have to understand that people who sometimes criticize the finish are comparing it to Dufour, Verbal Forcey. It's yeah, okay. NS something. People criticize all kinds of stuff. I mean, there are a lot of people. This may surprise you. There are a lot of people who have no idea what they're talking about, and they haven't been within 10 miles of an FP Journe, and they're blah 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 about it. So that's one thing I learned, is that you really got to judge yourself. Ultimately, don't listen to people like me. All right, you got there is a famous Marx Brothers line. Chico Marx said, "Who are you going to believe, me or your eyes?" And believe your eyes. Always believe your eyes. Um, okay, so let's see. Movement snobs. I want a fantastic movement finish. Allie, is a person a snob if they like something that you don't necessarily like or understand? I don't think so. I mean, you can have person could be, that's like saying the person likes color or they like a certain gold. We have a guy at in one of our things. I call him Goldfinger. It was a lot of people like gold. He likes gold, so I just call him Goldfinger. And so that's one of his things. Hi, Turkey Vulture. How you doing, man? Um, is a bit out of there. Yeah, FBJ. Yeah, his stuff is really good quality. By the way, too, a person I've got a lot of respect for, who was a former judge for Grand Prix, had said that probably the the best deal on a really, really, really exceptional quality is FP Journe. Kerry Boot and Lana stuff, I love that stuff, but it's like whew, really high. Um, and again, this is why Richard Harbring is an amazing guy. I don't know, he must make maybe 150, maybe 200 watches a year. I don't know, but he does some stuff. Hey, Alex. Okay, let's see. Okay. So what are some of your thoughts? Javier, what's up? I'm a standard horologist with a fleeting interest in some vintage pieces. I have fun with my pieces and also respect high and haute collectors. I'm not a haute. I'm just a well, you can tell some of these look like sort of well, it's sort of what is it? A Key West beach bum. Okay. See, like innovation, engineering, finishing, everything. Okay, yeah, that's an interesting thing. The quality of glasuda original for what you pay. Yeah, that's another thing too. I think that those kinds of choices is that if we don't pay a lot of money, I'm not too upset about a lot of stuff that people have. But boy, I tell you, man, we pay a whole lot of for stuff. I was thinking the other day, my wife and I were thinking of buying this. I thought, oh, gee, was that's really expensive? Should we spend that much? And yeah, going back and forth. I said, yeah, well, we really need it. It was just a few $100. We go out with these watches that cost a fortune, and we could hardly wait to part with our money to get one of those things. Um, okay, what's your opinion of JLC? I like JLC. JLC is one of my Jaja Lecoultre is one of my favorite. They're affordable. They have interesting models that I like. They have excellent variety. And also they have all kinds of different levels. They got I really like Jaja Lecoultre for that. Dial design and finishing is a big one for me, Sam. Yeah, you got to look at a watch. Have to see what's on your wrist. Um, every time I come here, I'm banged up. I banged up myself yesterday, hit myself on the door. Um, anyway, the yeah, dial design I think is really good. There's one Sapaneva, I think the guy's name. He's in Finland. Boy, he's got some beautiful watches. Um, I personally like quality and movement, innovation, or modern design. Okay. Hey, Clyde, how you doing, man? Uh, we're talking about different kinds of sort of guiding things in our collection. JLC is like Geo. They're higher level, are equal to the Holy Trinity, but affordable ones are also uh, a lot mashies finish, a lot of machines finish. Yeah, that's the this is another thing that in my own collections is I like to see the movement. That's one thing I like a lot about these this guy. Not only can you see the movement, but they have this trigonal bridge where you can really see it. I don't know if let me put it up here, but to the back there, you've got this little skinny bridge going down, and the gear train is along there, and you can see just about all of it. My favorite watch for seeing that is the one by uh, Lang called the Georg. It's a rectangular shaped watch, really cool. I like to see the movement. Nah, I'll let that one pass. Okay. Lately, I'm getting a bit more and more into the vintage or timeless design. Okay, yeah, that's cool. Like to see the movement. Nah, I'll let that one pass. Good, good idea. Can I bring a watch head uh, into Rolex RSC and buy a new bracelet for? Do they need a replacement to fit? I don't know. I don't have a Rolex. Clyde is a Rolex expert. If you want to get some information about that. Hi, Gary. How you doing, man? The Monads showed up. Perfect, but off to New York for a refresh. Oh, Gary, you got the H. Moser Monad? It weighs a pound. Yeah. Uh, is it Gary Hurst or Gary? Anyway, the Monad, yeah, that's an older one that is by H. Moser, but it's not really old. It's just sort of like what I'll call they have a newer name for it now. They call it the Endeavor. But you can get really good buys on those things. That's a good one to go. Um, listen, the thing is, Rolex. I got sucker punch the other day saying something about Rolex. I got to be careful. There's some sensitive people out there, and you don't want to hurt their feelings. Um, Rolex is has a good product, but what they have that's legendary is marketing. They got the best marketing imaginable, and they make the most money. And there's something to be said for that if you're on the market side. What I know about the market side, you could probably put on the head of a pin. Um, row, yeah, right. Okay. Let's see. Sam, is the narrative heritage behind a watch or watchmaker important to you, or do you mostly consider each watch for its own merits? That's a great, great question, Sam. Let me tell you what the problem is. Uh, I think you have to really evaluate a watch in its own terms. I'll tell you why. The heritage, there are two things about the heritage. One, it's all broken up, okay? You take, for example, Beauvais. This watch I happen to have here. This is my little monoretropont Beauvais, and it was probably right around the last time anybody from the Beauvais family was involved. They got, I think they got a copyright or they got some kind of patent on the monoretropont, but there's some big question about that and big fight about it. And so whether they got it or not isn't as important as the fact that this is a monoretropont and it works like it's supposed to. Okay, so now it's sort of like shortly after that, Beauvais more or less disappeared, and then it came back. I think around 2000, right around that area, early 2000, and it was brought back by a guy named Pascal Raffi. And what Raffi did, Raffi had a lot of money. It was pharmaceutical money, which is a nice term for drug money. He had a lot of it. And what happened, he decided he really wanted to sort of bring back Beauvais to the same level of quality and everything else that made Beauvais special a special brand. And so he did. And this last year, Beauvais, for the first time, won their first Grand Prix award. But not only did they win their first one, they won the grand prize. So it's sort of stuff like that. Hi, Riv. Um, the in going back to innovations and sort of the heritage. Um, I noticed that Riv said that Rolex is constantly innovating. So they say. Uh, and that, but see, they're so good at promotion, it's really hard. It's impossible to differentiate their. I got a bug on my screen. I have a real bug in my computer. The That's just the, I don't know where that bug went. Anyway, I hate 24 karat. The When you look at the reputation, there's a guy, who is it? Monet somebody, or somebody Monet. There's a brand out there, and they're always talking about they were the ones that invented the chronograph. And they were. I mean, well, at least that name was. But then, you find out they're using ETA movements. Well, wait a minute. That's different. That's a whole different story now. Um, so here you have a guy, you have one company that is does great things with the name. Then you got another company that not so much. You also have take Moritz Grossman. This is Kathleen. I think it's Kathleen Hutter. Kathleen Hutter. She bought the name. This is in Glashütte, and then one of the things that she did was to create a design that, as close as possible, reflected some of the features that Moritz Grossmann had in his original watches. So this is why when I look at a watch, is that looking at the history or looking at the anything about it, uh, you have to take it with a grain of salt. Some of it is has changed drastically since the founding members of the brand. Others are made up and they send them out on they use it in advertising. I mean, like Patek Philippe. What's his name? Anyway, one of the guys, a good guy too. Oh, Federico. Federico was talking about Patek Philippe having the very best tagline that you don't buy you never really own a Patek Philippe. You just take care of it for the next generation. And I agree with that. But I mean, as a good line, but where's the truth value in that? There's not a dime of truth value. And a lot of the other kinds of things that we tend to buy into, there's no truth in it. They're just repeated lines. Like I don't know how many different movements have been in the Man on the Moon watch, the watch that went into space and went to the moon for the first time. I forgot what the number of it was, or the caliber of it was, but now you can be all different kinds of things. And if you get an Omega, you can get one with one of their newer movements. You can get one with a ETA movement with a statement by Daniel. What's his name? Daniels. That's it. By Daniels. Okay. So, the other thing too is that my big tear that I've been on now is to look at the actual behavior of the designer. This is where I came to looking for designers who spent time doing restoration. And the more restoration they did, the more likely I find them interesting. Like I mentioned, Parmigiani was doing restoration for Sandoz. Kerry Wooten-Lannon was doing restoration for Parmigiani. F.P. Jorn for his uncle, and all of these different ones. If you take a look, okay, and so why is restoration important? Okay, the reason that restoration is important is that for a watchmaker, he's got to figure out, like, somebody brings in an old clock or an old watch or something like that, and they want it restored. They have to know and understand what it takes to put it back together again. And that's real craftsmanship and skill, and that's what I like in a watch. Now, whether they're an important brand or not, why should I care? That's the thing. If they have a storied history, okay, but that often doesn't have a thing to do with a watch. It's a lot harder to do that kind of research, but I enjoy it anyway. Okay, so you have these kinds of things. So this is anyway. All right. Um, so let's talk about what is your guiding, what guides you in your collection? Foreman, your gold paddock is being melted down. Okay. Let's see. What's the name of the designer who did time? Oh, that's Jacques. Yeah, he's the guy that back in 2003 he was convicted. Um, I think it was Jean Pierre. I think it's Jean Pierre Jacques. That guy's just his stuff is really interesting. Most of the stuff that he did was simply what do they call them? There's a term for it. That basically he was an assembler. He'd buy ETA Bosch's and things like that, and then put them together and sell them as completed movements. And Jacques SA, which was the name of the company. Um, So yeah, that was interesting. Now, but he there was one that he did called the 736. That was a shape movement. I took to a really well-known watchmaker, and he said that's not an ETA in there. Wasn't an ETA I Bosch. I thought, well, maybe he sort of fancied up a 6498, you know, uh, uh, but no. Okay. Okay. Uh, Imad, I think Paddock finishes better than Journe. Okay. Um, met Roland Murphy at National Watch and Clock Museum. He talked about his restoration of their Paddock Minute Repeater pocket watch. He said he was very careful. Yeah, Todd, that's the kind of thing to do. Were you at the National Watch and Clock? Well, let's see. There's a national one that's in Pennsylvania, right? And then there's a one not too far from me called the American one. Okay, let's see. Paddock makes excellent dials, cases, and have great finishing overall. Okay. It's yeah, Todd. Yeah, okay. It's the one in Pennsylvania, which isn't too far from where he has his shop set up. Okay. Hey, Arabia Felix. Whatever Clyde has, don't buy. Oh, come on now. Don't be nice. Clyde's got some cool ones. Clyde's got a watch I really, really, really like and wish I had, and that's the Hebdo Damari. Um, cool watch. Okay, let's see. All right. Hey, Flippin' Zippo, how you doing? Um, let's see, what else you guys have? Okay, what else is there? Rib, I think one of the things there is really big promotion. Another thing that some people use and I don't is a good resale value. I don't do that. It sort of takes the attention away, I think, from where it should be. Now that's only my opinion. A lot of people buy it and they love flipping watches. They buy one and they have it for a while and they sell it. Hey, Gisling, time on this stream recommended by Clavers. Oh my God! Is it Gisling? You should not believe what Clyde has for you. Okay, Jordan, something. Let's see. I'm torn at this moment. The new green dial, Tutima Flagger. Now that's the one I like. I like that Tutima Flagger. Um, that is a cool watch, I think. I so Paddock is all covered, I guess. Barol, I have some restored several Invictus with a hammer. Okay. Let's see. I got one guideline. Don't buy into the hype. Yes, Ronit, that's a really good thing. And the other thing is, and the hard thing sometimes is separating the hype from the, so separating the wheat from the shaft. Hi, Mark. How you doing, man? Uh, you were out in the yard. Let's see, it's the weekend. That means you're like get up to do that. Uh, I got to do my yard. I like to do it. That's one nice thing about being retired. I can do my yard anytime I want to. So when my yard is starting to look a little bushy, um, I'll wait until my neighbor's yard looks bushy and they're at work, and I'll mow mine. All right, let's see what else is going on. She's Lane. Hi, She's Lane. Thank you for letting me know about that. Lots of companies have terribly outdated calendar movements, getting embarrassing at this point, and not just Paddock. Who's the guy that Olstein, I think, Dr. Olstein, he has a perpetual calendar, and he did it with 9 parts, whereas it took Paddock Philippe hundreds of parts. Those kinds of things I like. Olsheen is something like that. I don't know if I got his name right. Um, hey, Lawrence, how's it going, man? Let's see. Okay. Has a very special pronunciation for your name. Well, I'm sure they do. Moser, Elise, Nardine, those guys have great perpetuals. Yeah. Moser's got the best perpetual around, I think. I like that Olshino too. Um, okay, nothing intentional. Hey, Andre, how you doing, man? Now, is this from the Duchy of? Is that correct? Uh, okay, hey, Tanzil, I'm trying to get this the whole thing on the Patek Philippe. Now, it's unfair to say someone who came after Patek did it better when Patek invented the technology back in the AC. Uh, the other brands built off them. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Tanzil, but let me just give you a real quick thing. There was Paddock. First, it was Paddock and Chopek, and Chopek went off and started his own. Then he found a really talented watchmaker named Philippe, and so the Paddock Philippe. Philippe was the guy who did the movements. Yeah, and also too, Tanzo, you bring up a really good, a really conundrum is that where do they go? I mean, are the people who go to work for some of these companies as good? Maybe they're better than the original founder. Maybe they've done something else. It's really hard to know, and that's very much why I like to know who built this thing. The 2016 5100 movement by Vacheron Constantin, there was a guy who sort of was a leader of the group who made it. And I have a lot of respect for him, and I talked to him, and I can't remember his name. Okay. Okay. Hey, Crappy, can you tell us something about your career, occupation, educational background? Um, it was it was very strange. What do you want to know about it? Was all right. Come on, man. I'm retired. I do this for fun. See, there's sorts of ways. Highly complex mechanical movement. Tons of the parts are nice. Yeah, NS something that's a really good point. Highly complex mechanical movements are not necessarily innovative or good engineering. If you ever heard the term over-engineered, that's a good point. In part, this is why I like a nice, clean, three function movement, namely hours, minutes, and seconds. This one right here is to me sort of the kind of one I like. Um, Something like this that has my monorattrapon along with my chronograph. This is the only chronograph that I own. This thing is from runs on a real, not an ETA Valjoux, but a Valjoux from the 1930s and 1940s. Okay, hey Fernando, what's going on? Creator of the perpetual calendar was not Patek Philippe; it was an English one called Thomas Muge. Yeah, I think you're right, Fernando. Um, See, it does not mean that they were better. Lots of companies did not produce those at the time because they did not want to put their names on a highly complex, easy to read to real movement. Okay. Clock, pocket watch. Okay. And that's something point out that being the first doesn't mean you did it best. That's true. Uh, there's a lot of stuff. Oh, one thing I think that's oh wow, the murder hotel at the World's Fair. Clyde, are you talking about the Chicago World's Fair back around the turn of the century? Let's see. Okay, look at FPJ and Sonore. He did not want to make one that breaks if you pull the lever twice. Yeah. Collector equals service fees. That's true enough. That's an interesting book. Well, I probably a lot of books on that thing. It's really interesting, fun. That's another thing is that, like, the one that I happen to like with the by Jacques, the Jacques that went to jail. It was That's just for fun. Whether it's the greatest one in the world, I don't know, but it's sort of cool. All right. Well, listen, I really talked a lot. Yeah, I I really like to hear you guys, and you've had some great things. Thank you for it, for your comments. Um, and so anyway, listen, you guys, I think the really the long and the short of it is that we collect watches that we like, that we can afford, that we enjoy, that we have a good time with, and let other people do the same thing. Realizing that we all have different amounts of money we can spend on watches, we have different tastes, a lot of different things. Sometimes you'll find something that is totally out of your bailiwick and say, wow, that's really interesting. I never knew that. And so allow that to happen to you. Okay. Don't get so tied up in any kind of thing. And I include myself in this because I found a lot of fun things that I would never looked at before. So, anyway, see you guys. Will have he has Clyde's discussions are a lot of fun. They're a lot more fun than mine. Uh, I was because Clyde listens. He shakes his head a lot more. Anyway, we'll see you guys. Thanks for coming. And tomorrow. Oh, I just remembered. Tomorrow there's a new collection review. You're gonna really love this collection. It's a really neat one, I think. I think you're gonna like it. Okay, hope to see you then. Whoops, hit my microphone. Take care. Bye bye.